Dr. Jazz.
Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Dr. Jazz.
Yeah, sure. It's a pleasure.
You know, I have you on so many records, and basically I talked with so many guys that you played with, and I was like, shit, I'll drop you a line. So let's see, and, you know, and I'll just jump in. We're gonna I wanted to ask you. I listened today to Oak Tree by Tom Harrell, and
Uh-huh.
you know, it's such a beautiful record, and you and Luis and Adam provide such a nice support for Tom. And I wanted to ask you, when did you start playing with Tom, and how do you see your relationship with him, and what does he mean musically for you? You know, he's one of the best composers out there, I think. And
Well, yeah, I agree with that proposition, and I've been playing with Tom since '97,
already, well,
on and off, obviously, but a lot of on, let's say, you know. So like I've been pretty much I've been on a lot of his recordings and
yeah,
projects and so forth. And basically, as far as my life or whatever participation in different projects and working with people, that's one of my definitely my main sort of person that I've worked with, you know.
mhm,
I mean, for the longest anyway, it's over 25 years, and it's been fruitful since day one, and it keeps on adding. He's not one of those band leaders that are happy with their let's say their output and the music that they're working with, but he keeps on changing, he keeps on developing, he keeps on moving things forward. And
mhm,
so like throughout the years, I've noticed a lot of different changes in how he writes, how he also develops as an improviser and player, and also like how he writes for the group. So he gives real purpose to the people that he plays with, because when he writes, I think he has people in mind that he writes for. So he has like certain things that like it's kind of like Duke Ellington used
Duke
to like.
Ellington, yeah,
There's
yeah,
more examples, but Duke Ellington is one of those really good examples for that. They write for the people in their band, and that's how Tom kind of conceives about a lot of things. So a lot of the times, like I find playing a new tune, and there's a bass line written in there. It's like, wow, I could have come up with that somehow. I feel
yeah,
very comfortable playing it because somehow it feeds into whatever I do or something. And I learn a lot because like the way like he has the group playing together, because he leaves a lot of freedom, you know, like as far as like his compositions are very well organized, very clearly written, very well composed, and you can play them as such, like when you like see the music in front of you, or when you
mhm,
learn the music, you can just play it. But then what he expects, although he will never say, is that you can put yourself. I mean, that's what I have been doing from day one. It's like you have to put in your own personality to interpret whatever he writes, and that's
mhm,
what he sees in the music, I think. So like, and that's like the same with me, and that's how I think about it. It's like, you have to give out something, even though you like when you're playing whatever you're playing, that you want to hear like you want to hear some personality. You want to
yeah,
hear something that's sort of in some ways not regurgitated, as something original and like moving the music forward. So he leaves that space open in ways of like anything can happen in the compositions. Although the music is right there and is very clear, it could go anywhere, and he'll be happy to, and he'll be ready to go there.
mhm,
So it gives you like, as far as what it means to me, he gives me basically a lot of, I mean,
freedom, yeah,
purpose. I mean,
yeah,
purpose
purpose,
and life, as far as like music is concerned.
mhm.
So.
Wow. When was how did you end up in his groups? I mean, when was the first gig, and how did you get the call?
Uh, the first time I ever played with him, was on a gig when I was still playing. I was playing with David Sanchez, and we were playing a week at the Vanguard. And David had recorded one of his tunes on his record, and Tom was a special guest for that week. So but he only played one tune that night, each night, you know. So, but that's when we first played together, and he started calling me, and at first I couldn't make it, whatever. I was still working a lot with Jacky Terrasson at the time, and with Liam Parker, whatever. But anyway, and then at some point I could make it, like for rehearsal and the gig, and that was like then after that we did play again on one of Leon's records, actually, where we played together. And then after that he started calling me, and then the first gig I could do was we did a gig at Birdland.
Oh wow! Okay,
nice. 97, and that was the first time we've actually played. I played in his group, you know, and that was already like a very, for me, very telling experience, because he didn't hire a piano player. He hired trombone, tenor, trumpet, bass and drums, and then he played some piano. So like he was like playing trumpet, but then he also went to the piano and played some piano. And like what he did, and that's why I also gathered from how he looks at music, or how he looks at the whole experience, or like the whole process, is that he started changing his own arrangements immediately. And when he's playing a certain thing on the piano, he started adding or shifting around with it and adding to it. So like I felt immediately, so I can take whatever freedoms I like, you know, as long as it's responsible. He obviously, without that ever being said verbally, when you leave a lot of freedom, you have to trust the responsibility of those people that have the freedom. So like in that way, he's sort of like he's entrusting you with a lot of responsibility for the group sound and so forth. And so like he entrusts people with having that in mind when they play. And it's been working out pretty well between the two of us, at least, you know. So like, but he had a lot of groups that stayed together long, you know. It wasn't like, it's not like one of the pickups group and get these people. It was always like a group sound, and then like, and that he was writing for, and that he was playing with, and that he felt comfortable, exploring.
Yeah, I mean, I checked the records, and I think from 2009 and 2018 or 17, you did a record every year. I mean, he did.
Yes, yeah.
That's incredible, right? If kind of the same nucleus and. Amazing.
Well, yeah, that is true. But the other thing is, some things have been recorded, have never been released. There's like at least one record that I mean, from other recording sessions anyway. But there's one recording session that never found a label at the time. You know, like one recording, and that's actually a nice, I think, a very nice record with some very intriguing music. But he has so much music that it's kind of like, I mean, you know, he could do, like, I've kept on saying this, but he could do, like, without even writing anything new, he could do easily 10 records now, you know, more probably. He has so much music. Sometimes we play a tune and we just play it on a rehearsal, and then or maybe once on a gig, and then it never been played again. Sometimes we play a tune and then we play it for a while, then we stop playing it. It's never been recorded, and it gets recorded like 5 years later or something like that, you know. So there's all of that, but he has a lot of material. And that being said, it's not material just because it's all has something to say. It all has certain musical integrity, and it's some depth in there. It's not just some tunes, which is fine too, but they all have like some kind of like a real musical purpose in that sense. The music itself, it brings something to it has something like I think it's very like important. It would be nice to like record or a lot of the things that he has written, you know. Yeah.
Oh, that's probably like more than even recorded, like more than 200 compositions already, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably.
I never counted them.
But
I mean, but like I said, there's a lot more things that have never been heard even in public that I've heard. I'm sure there's more than that, you know.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Uh, Otherwise, I wanted to ask you, like, going a little bit back, I mean, you have an interesting background. At least what I saw, you were born in Germany, kind of
No, I
went
was
to
born in London, actually.
London, but you lived in Germany, right?
I was great. I was raised in Germany. Yeah,
Ah, that's how
my
it was.
parents like met in London, and I was born there.
Ah, that's how it
And
is.
then I actually they didn't meet in London, but they lived in London. But whatever. Like I was born there, and I moved to Germany like when I was 1 year old. So like I
Ah,
didn't really
okay.
have any kind of British sort of upbringing, or like wasn't in that environment. I went to school and everything in Germany, and
Ah,
yeah. But my parents, my mom was German, and my father was Nigerian. So
hmm,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, because I wanted to ask you, like, growing up then in Germany, how did you, what were the first jazz influences you've heard? Or, I mean, we all now, the most of us, when we have a tour in Europe, Germany has like 60% of the gigs, at least for me. And but you growing up as a teenager, like mid or late 70s, what was the trigger for you that you said like, shit, I want to do improv music or jazz or fusion? You remember the moment or some moments?
I came from, that's a good point, actually. I came from listening to like Jimi Hendrix, listening to James Brown, listening to a lot more music like that, that is more like funk,
Mm,
soul, rock kind of music. And then, well, what happened is that I was listening to the bass, like for me, any kind of, especially if you think of like funk and soul and like James Brown and this kind of things, like a lot of these compositions, they like sort of depend on the bass line. It's like, or it's put it this way, the bass line is a very integral part of the whole thing, whatever you hear, there's like, of course, there's melodies and that sort of thing. But a lot of the first bass line I've ever learned or ever got into was like Hey Joe from Jimi Hendrix,
sure.
like the thing that he actually plays on guitar,
Yeah.
But then I found that like a friend of mine was kind of introducing me or just give me some Miles Davis records and stuff like that, and I checked them out. And what I noticed is that when I went to my first jazz live concert in where I was living in the area, that the bass player was kind of playing lines that would never end. Like for me, like a walking bass line, I didn't understand what was actually happening.
Sure.
But I mean, I found that wow, he never really plays the same thing. He just keeps on going and going and going, and that was very intriguing to me. So like I started getting more into listening more, and then I got into like Mingus. First, it was
Mm.
more like a jazz rock kind of thing because I came from that music, so I listened to whatever, like
Weather
Mick
Report, I
Jagger
guess,
and
or
huh.
Weather Report, probably.
Weather Report
Yeah.
and what's the one with Stanley Clark and Al
Oh,
May,
Return to Forever. Yeah.
Return to Forever and that stuff, and Billy Cobham, Spectrum, and also like the Mahavishnu stuff, like stuff like that first. But then I got into Mingus and Ornette Coleman too, because Ornette Coleman
Mm.
at the time already was using electric basses. I was playing first. I was playing electric bass. When I started playing acoustic bass. I got I think I always wanted to play acoustic bass, but I didn't have the money first to get one, But when I started and I got into it, then I started listening to Mingus more, and I got away from the jazz rock and got more into stuff like Miles Davis, first kind of blue, and I heard like Life in Antibes or something like that,
Mm.
which is a little more advanced, and I didn't get that at first. For me, it was like, wow, this is very intense.
Yeah.
But developing starts, and you learn and you listen more, and so I started getting into it like that.
Mm.
But like the first real impact of a live concert that I had, like where I went to a music concert where I thought, wow, this is really inspiring, was Dollar Brand at the time, Ibrahim Abdullah
Ibrahim.
or
Yeah.
Abdullah Ibrahim, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they played in the area where I was living, and that was the first band I ever heard live where I said, wow, this is something else. It was really taking me somewhere.
Mm.
So I got more serious about playing and getting into it that way. Yeah.
Mm.
And then I moved from where I was living to
Berlin,
Berlin,
right?
and I had a teacher there, and I'd study with a guy named Jay Oliver. He was more known on the free jazz scene in New York, but back then he was already in Berlin. He's been living in Berlin since his, I mean, he died fairly young. He was in his 50s. But I mean, when I was living in Berlin, I was there for like 3 years, 86 through 89. I studied with him and with Walter Norris. I don't know if you're familiar with
Sure.
him.
Yeah,
He's a
Walter Norris,
piano
sure.
player that
Sure,
played.
sure, of course.
Oh, you know him? Okay, cool.
Yeah, sure.
So I had a chance to study and play with him some, and
Wow.
so it was for me going to Berlin, in as far as Germany is concerned, was like a good move because that's one of the places that offered the possibilities to be able to play, you know, and having getting some gigs, and then I moved to New York in the end of '89.
What was the main trigger for you to move to New York? I mean, did you know some people
I'd
there
started
already, or?
playing with some people in Berlin where I had this regular gig on a weekend at a place where a lot of people would come by that came through town. So there was this show in town, Porgy and Bess, and Charles Tolliver, Dizzy Reese, James Zoller,
Oh, wow.
Clark Gayton. They were all in the band in that show, and they came by this jazz club where I was playing. They were sitting in and stuff like that. And then Charles and Dizzy Reese got like some gigs at the club in Berlin that was the Quasimodo that
Oh,
was at
sure.
the time doing a lot of jazz. And so I did actually play with them there. And all of them, and they said, you know, why don't you come to New York? It's just like whatever. So I had some connections, made some connections with them, and then I went to New York the first time in '88,
Oh.
and then I decided I think I have to stay here for a while, and so I came back in '89, and with that, let me check out the New York scene, and I'm still checking it out now.
How was it for you in the beginning? I mean, I think I spoke to Drew Grass, and he said like when he came to New York that, you know, some piano player was like, yeah, I really like your playing, and he put him like in the book of bass players, and there was like, he checked the
Yeah.
names, was like Eddie Gomez and Mark Johnson and all these guys above him, and he was like, shit, man, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
how was it like for you when you came to New York? I mean, to get gigs? And...
I think for me, I was pretty lucky the way I came in, because when I came, I had this gig and met another guy in Berlin, Rudy Stevenson. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a guitar player, but he used to work some with Wynton Kelly, but
Oh, wow.
not really on recordings so much. But anyway, he connected me with some people. And so I had a gig at Carlos One, which was a place that was still open then. And I played, like, you know, you come in and you're playing like 6 nights a week. And I did that for like several times a month or so, you know. So like it was sort of like it was a gig with a singer, but still we were playing. So I like started coming in and had a gig that was keeping me busy, so I could buy an amp and whatever, you know, like get like some get established, and then you just whatever. I went to jam sessions and so forth, and you know, like, and you know, you get to know people, start doing different gigs, playing around, and so yeah, it just became like a sort of like, how do you say, like, you know, you just get to know, like, you're spreading around, so, you know, you're spreading yourself around, going to all different, meeting a lot of different people. I wasn't really thinking so much at the time. I wasn't really thinking so much as to like, I hope I can make it here or whatever it is, you know. I was just doing it, like, in ways of like, it wasn't, maybe that's a better approach, because then otherwise you get stressed out by things,
no
you know.
expectations in a sense.
So like I was kind of like just looking at it as like, yeah, there's some gigs to do, and then like I enjoy the music, so you know, that's how that worked. And I went to I don't know where. Oh yeah, like, and a lot of things in jazz, I guess I don't really know how I think it works that way now too, but it's like by word of mouth, you know. So like in ways of, you start meeting people, you meet that person, and I know this piano player, blah blah blah, and then I got to know whatever. I started playing with like Jacky Terrasson or something like that. You know, he was like one of the cats that like kept starting working on a regular basis with this trio. But before that, the piano player of John Hendricks' band recommended me, and I did, like, I had a 2.5 year stint with John Hendricks where like that was like
Really?
regular
Oh, wow.
work where we would go on the
Okay.
road and stuff like that,
It's a big one. Yeah.
so I was doing that with him, and in the meantime, I was working with I don't know, all kinds of with Jacky, with Leon, with Brad Maldo, with whatever, like all these people that were around on the scene at the time,
Mm.
and then everybody did stuff, and then they separated in these different groups and so forth,
Mm.
yeah.
You mentioned Leon and Jacky. Like, how did you guys hook up? And I mean, this was one of the strongest like piano trios of the '90s, I remember. And this trio was
Yeah,
everywhere,
we
I
hooked
think.
up in a. Yeah, it was like I mean, Jacky at some point. I mean, he got like a contract with Blue Note after he won.
Yeah.
I think it was after he won the Monk competition. I don't know if he was already like he had already signed with them, but once that like they get a lot of label support and stuff like that. So he was able to like get the trio going and moving around and working a lot. But basically, the trio kind of came about by some kind of default. I mean, not default, by some sort of. It wasn't planned. I mean, Jacky was like we played with Jacky and it was fun and we liked. But the original trio was actually Leon, Brad Maldo, and myself. We used to
Really?
play a lot
Oh.
at the Village Gate.
Oh.
And Jacky had all these arrangements and or some arrangements for some tunes and had his own tunes and stuff like that. So we started playing with him more, and then then he won the Monk competition. So it kind of went like that, And Leon got a contract with Sony, and then he was doing his thing on the other side with some more percussion stuff and whatever,
Interesting. Yeah. Oh wow! Did you guys record something with Brad, that trio, and Leon?
We did, and
man.
but it was never released.
Never out,
and
right?
it's now actually since the last year, Leon has been trying to. The recording exists still, and he's been trying to find a way to release it either on his own label or on somebody else's label, or like he talked to Brad and myself. We'll see if it comes out or when it comes out or whatever happens with that. But we recorded like in 91 or 2 or whenever that was, like early 90s. And but that was just like, it was basically just a demo tape. We did like, I think maybe 6-7 tunes or something like that, and we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, who knows what the future holds anyway? Like we never know, how things go. But we did record some. I mean, this one recording. Other than that, we played live a lot. Like at the Gate. The Gate was at the time also like 4 or 5 nights a week, so that was great. You kept them working on material or playing different things or deepening your understanding of the group and stuff like that. So we had like a little vibe happening. There's some things on YouTube, I think. I mean, I know they are on YouTube from that time.
Well, interesting. Yeah, it would be interesting to hear you guys, like, because I wanted to ask you, you as a band leader, how did that record Universe happen, and if you're still planning something as a band leader in the future? I mean, but like first that record, I mean,
the record happened in that was because the record really happened because I was approached. I was doing some tours in Spain with this promoter over there, and he approached me if I wanted to bring a band over, and I said yes. And we did the record over there too, to just increase a little bit of budget to get more money for, not that it. So like it was just something that we did at the end of the tour. We recorded, and that's how that came out. And since then, the label has been defunct. I mean, it's not even. The record is not on the market anymore.
Yeah, because I was like trying to search for it and I couldn't find it anywhere. Like
it's hard to. I mean, like what I should do, and I've been saying this for years, and I'm not doing it. And that might give you an idea as to what you were asking next, as far as like, I'm not really a hustler, apparently. So I'm not really somebody that goes after, like, when somebody calls me, do you want to play? Yes, I will. But I'm not calling people, and I don't have, or let's put it this way, I don't have somebody doing the calling for me. I don't have a manager, or I haven't found somebody to try to get gigs for me. So I've done some gigs with my own group. Like recently, I've done one in the last gig I did with my group was like a couple of months ago in New York or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But before that, it's been a while since then. And as far as planning, I am not planning it, but I mean, I'm open to it, and we'll see. But what I want to do is record the group that I'm currently playing with, at least in some ways that of that personnel. It's like I'm mostly using Adam Cruz and Luis Perdomo and Rich Perry.
Oh man,
and that's a nice kind of combination of people, and it came out like we've been playing together for a while. I mean, I don't play that often, but when we play, like sometimes that kind of feels very, we can do things together. And me and Luis play together a lot anyway. Luis and Adam and I with Tom, and then sometimes with Luis's trio or whatever, or in some other group. And then with Rich I play quite regularly too, in different ways, like we've been hired by this drummer we play with sometimes, or a couple of times I played with his group too. So it's like, so we feel simpatico with each other, like we have like a musical connection that way. So yeah, I feel but yeah, as far as like, so I want to record that group at some point, but I haven't really tried doing any of that either yet so far, but I have the feeling it all depends on, because right now, and it's been like that with my career, or with my life, like that. I've been very busy playing with other people that I've kind of get distracted all the time. It's like I'm not really focusing on my group or trying to move that forward. And there's always something coming up, or there's always something to do. And like the last 6 months or so, like it's been like it's so full with stuff that it's getting like I'm just going from gig to gig. And it's sort of like, and it's not really because Tom hasn't been playing that much. Because like when I was playing with Tom, when I'm playing with Tom, there's a group that's playing. And so you're getting into the music, you're doing some tours or whatever. You're playing with a group for a while. Now I'm just doing a gig, and the next day it's another group with another band, with another venue, whatever. So it's like constant. And that makes it get even more distracted as far as that is concerned. I'm just going like to gig, And when COVID happened, and when the lockdown when the lockdown happened, I started teaching a little bit more at a couple of at some schools, and I kind of like that too. I like teaching, So although we've all been working now more, but I'm now teaching as well. So now it's like shit gets, sorry, but I mean like it gets compact, like there's a lot of stuff. But that being said, in the end, it's just for me to like make a decision at some point, or just not even make a decision, just start doing something as far as my group is concerned. So but I don't have to say I don't really think about it that much. I just like, if somebody calls me, that's what happened with the last gig. Somebody called me, do you want to play a gig? And it's like, yeah, sure, and then I do that, but other than that, it hasn't really been happening as much. But I think, let's put it this way, when things slow down, maybe I have more time to think about that stuff.
Okay. But you like it otherwise, being a band leader and composer?
I do like it. It's a very different sort of thing, though, as far as like playing is concerned, and as far as like dealing with, like, you have a lot more things to think about. And as a band leader, being a bass player, for me, it makes it like because I can't think about what the next tune is while we're playing, Like a horn player, they play a solo, and then they have time to listen, but they also can kind of think and see where they want to go. I can't do that because I'm constantly busy with stuff while I'm playing already. Playing quarter notes mostly, or whatever, So I like the group I'm playing with, because the people make their own. They're all are musicians that have very, very distinguished musical personalities, and they take the music somewhere there. So it's the same with whatever. I give them the music, and then like there are certain things that I want to have happen, but then other than that, it's sort of like wherever they're taking it, And so like it makes it easier. But I have to think ahead more. Like my other gigs, I just go to the gig most of the time, and then like whatever's been thrown at me, especially now, because like whatever, later today I'm doing a gig. It's like, I'm just going to go and then we're just going to play something. And I mean, I'm just, whatever. I'm playing with this guitar. I don't know if you know Oz Noy, but I mean,
Oh, really? Yeah.
like
Oh, wow.
fusion guitar player,
But you're playing
E-bass?
You're
No, I'm
playing
playing. No, I'm not playing. I'm playing upright. We're playing
Really?
jazz.
wow. With Oz also. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
We started. That was actually a group that we started during the lockdown too, because we like both the two of us and the drummer. We live in the same neighborhood, so we went to Riverside Park in May or something of 2020 and started playing like 2-3 times a week.
Oh, that's cool.
Just playing, like not for money, just to be able to play. But out of that came like we started having a little bit of a thing, and we recorded actually, and the record is out, and we did some gigs at Birdland and Django and whatever, and now we're doing whatever. So yeah, so we keep on playing different things, like with that in sort of that less of a jazz rock thing as far as Oz is concerned.
Oz is concerned. Wow, well, interesting. Okay, I'll check it out if there's a record.
But anyway, what I was going to say is like when I go to a gig now, I'm just going there. But like when I have to do my gig, I have to think ahead. I'm thinking about like a set list already, and like my whole plan. So that's occupies my mind a little more in that sense. And then obviously with the business.
Oh yeah, then is that
that's why I'm not a hustler, because that would take it too much when I have to write to people and then like not hearing back, keep on writing to them or whatever it is, So I definitely need somebody to work for me there, and I haven't really made any kind of. I haven't tried to find someone either. I don't know. It's like just like, but sometimes that part can be frustrating actually.
It is,
because I've known from people like I remember people that I was working with a lot or that I'm working with. They said, "Yeah, I'm doing like 30 phone calls a day to whatever." Back in the day when there were now it's like 30 emails a day, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then I hear back maybe from 1 or 2, and then whatever. So it's like it's a very frustrating and time consuming, and it takes a lot of energy.
It is,
a process, and that's sort of like the frustrating part about the business side. And I try to stay away from the frustrating parts as much as possible.
That's smart, actually. On the other hand, yeah, it's smart actually. Yeah, but otherwise, have you been composing as well? I mean,
yeah, I've been composing some. I'm not. That's the other thing. That's like actually, I was just thinking about that. I have things that I write, but I haven't really. I'm not like I think Tom, for example. I mean, I don't know now because he's slowed down a little bit because he had some health issues he was dealing with and stuff like that. But basically, at the time, back just a couple of years ago or so, he's writing every day. Like he's writing something every day. Not that everything becomes a composition, but it's an idea. And I started doing that a long time ago. Started writing down ideas, but the finishing touch, or like putting something together, sometimes that's the working part of composing. That takes me a while to actually go there. And sometimes it takes a while for me to really hear, because sometimes I do hear something, this could be that, or so, and then I'm not trying to, I don't have the discipline. I have discipline as far as like going to the instrument and practicing and playing or whatever. I like it actually. If I don't do it, if something feels, there's something missing in my life, But the writing part, I don't have that same sort of approach somehow. And I wish I can get there at some point, like that I can write more, that I would do something every day, So I by far not doing that now, like as far as like, I do write, but it's not as a regular, and it's not like, sometimes it's not ongoing. I have phases, like sometimes I have a spurt and I write something and I finish something, and then, so example, like the last time I did that was quite a few years ago, where I wrote something. Well, yeah, like when I wrote a couple of things during COVID, but I mean, this was actually before that, just a little before that. My father passed away, and I wrote, like, I had something in mind because I wrote a tune, and that I was really getting into more like writing, like thinking about it and writing, and that I had a phase where I was like writing a little more. And I had the same thing I mean, so like it comes in waves, but the waves,
Right.
like there's a wave and there's a lot of no wave for a while at the moment. Anyways, so hopefully I'll get into that.
You would need a
Again more.
deadline.
And that's, I find that actually more important than the hustle for gigs, you know, like as far as I'm concerned, for me, even if the music is not, because sometimes I play music, my own music with other groups too, and they're recorded sometimes too. So, you know, like in that sense, it's like, it's still music that's there and it's alive and it or can be brought alive by a band, you know. So like that's like a discipline that I like to be more efficient with, or like actually put more time into. But like I said, I had more fruitful intervals, like as far as composing goes. I haven't done so much lately, but it's on my mind. So if it's on my mind, it you know, at some point it will come out, or something will come out, you know.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, you know, the band is killing, like those guys you mentioned. That's like would be great to hear.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds good, and every time we play, if music, I mean, you know, whatever the reaction of the audience, but like a lot of times musicians come around and if they're there or something like that, and they really like the band. So you know, it's kind of like it has some kind of connection, you know, ways of like it has some kind of musical purpose, I think. You know?
Yeah, would be great. Yeah. Otherwise, Ugonna, not to take too much of your time, but just I checked on your website, like, and the records I have you on, like, I think you played like with who's who is in jazz, like the alphabetical
Yeah, well,
order.
there's a couple of people, yeah.
But there's like, you know, I wanted to ask you about, there's a name like Michael Brecker. When did you play with Mike? When was that? And your
Mike
experience?
Brecker, I played with Jacky. I mean, it was like a
really?
recording actually.
Okay.
With we did. I don't even remember the name of the recording now, but it's one of the recording. I mentioned like on the website. I mentioned the people that I've played with and then I've worked with,
Wow. Okay.
just to separate them. So where like when I was worked with, like there's like when somebody called me to play with them, but Michael Brecker, we both were sidemen. So like
Ah,
you know,
okay.
that's what. So that's when I played with him, and it was actually. We did the record that we did like 2 or 3 days in the studio, and Stefan Harris was on that record too. But anyway, it was I think the second day was the day when Kenny Kirkland died or something like
Oh,
that.
shit.
So that's what I remember because we were talking about that. So it was that time when we were playing, when we were doing that record. But that's when I was playing with him, and then maybe one more thing somewhere. Or maybe not. I might be wrong. I don't remember now. But I mean, that was a time definitely when that's why it's on there, you know, just like as a mention. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask you that because I was like, shit, when did that happen? But
Yeah.
otherwise, what's on the schedule for you for the upcoming months and weeks? They have some tours coming up, coming to Europe, or
Tours not until, or actually not really. Like that's the thing. Like the reason I've done some tours this last year, a couple, but not as much as I usually do. And like and that's actually for me. That's actually at the moment the status quo. Although I'm super busy, it's not so much with tours. I'm not really going anywhere much. I'm
local
doing a lot
gigs.
of playing here, but I have a couple of things I'm playing like for like few days up in upstate New York, or I'm doing some stuff like I'm going to do like a week at Dizzy's or something, and then I'm doing some stuff in Canada, but not real tours, you know, like as far as that's concerned. But we're going to do in March. We're going to play a week at Dizzy's with Tom Harrell, and that's like something like a longer stint with that group. In the next, not the weekend after next, I'm going to be for like 5 days up there in Mohonk playing something with I don't know if you're familiar with Pete Malin-Verney.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
a pianist.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing some stuff with him, and we did a record a couple of years ago, like a trio record with Jeff Hamilton was on it, and we doing and I've been playing with him. I've been playing with him since like whatever 92 or something like
Oh, wow.
but also on and off. So we did some things, and then we haven't done anything in a long time. But lately, last few years, been playing a lot, quite a lot. And actually, the teaching thing that I was doing, he was the one that actually hired me at the time, like in 2020 when we were going. Like he's like up in Purchase, New York. So that's so we have like a connection on in different ways now.
Yeah.
So, but we do have been playing a lot together. Him and we're doing. Recently, we did a weekend at Smalls with Matt Wilson.
Oh wow,
Pete
beautiful.
Malinverni, myself, and Matt Wilson, and we're going to do some more with that trio. I mean, he just called us for something that's not until August, but still, you know, I think there's going to be some
Wow.
more stuff like that. So, you know, and you know, I don't know, like, I mean, now I had been playing for a few years now with this guy Wayne Escoffrey. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah,
him.
sure. Oh yeah.
And we did a few I did like 3 or 4 records with him, and we're doing like a showcase. That's the guy who I've been touring with last year mostly when I was going on
Wayne.
tour,
Oh, wow, okay.
and he has not, at least not whatever the group I've been playing with him includes, has not really booked anything for this year, but we're doing something this coming weekend, and that's like for APAP. You know, I think that's what it's called, and it's like I think like the college circuit or something like that. Anyway, it's like a presentation. It's sort of like
okay.
you know,
Yeah.
a lot of groups play, and then you hopefully get some gigs out of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Interesting.
so he's presenting the group there, so we'll see what happens with that. You know, and but we've been working some. I mean, he's one of those cats that worked a lot. He like did 2 tours. European tours, like both of them 3 weeks long or something,
man.
and he did everything. I mean, did everything himself. He did like he booked the flights, he booked the hotels, he booked everything. Like, and it was just like, it's so, I can't even imagine the work that went into. So, you know, I understand if he doesn't want to do it now or whatever it is, you know, because it's like, there's not that many people that do it unless you have like a manager, stuff like that, you know. But I mean, you know, a lot of people don't. That's a lot of work to put into, you know.
It is.
So yeah. But so I'm doing something with him, and then I'm doing I don't know, like, yeah, I'm just playing. I can look at my calendar, but I mean, just like I'm just doing something. I'm starting to do a couple of things with Gary Versace.
Oh really? Oh man,
yeah,
beautiful.
We've played together. Actually, not the first time, but we played once with Rich Perry's group together.
Yeah, he plays with Rich a lot.
Yeah. But he called me for a couple of things, like at the Zinc Bar that's happening in a couple of weeks, and then something in February at Smalls. Or no, Mesro, like a weekend or something, you know. So those things are kind of newer. I've worked with Gary, but not in his trio. So, you know.
Fantastic.
And so we'll see what happens, you know. But it's like always kind of things like that come up or don't come up.
No, but beautiful, man. It's nice to hear that you're busy, you know. That's good after COVID, especially.
Yeah, no, that's a good feeling. At least you know, and also you can make choices sometimes. That's good, you know. Sometimes like if you have the option to do or not to do, is better than not to have any options.
Exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, with Tom, will you play new music and to be recorded something also?
That's a good question. Like we did record. There's another after Oak Tree. There's another record that's recorded, and it's like I don't know when it's supposed. I don't know if it's out. Hang on a second. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to play new music, but we do have another record out, recorded. That's, I don't know when it's coming out, but it's the same format as a quartet with. Well, actually, no. Oak Tree is a quartet. This one is like with different. I'm sorry, man. I'm doing so much stuff that I've totally lost track of things I'm doing. So, like, I think it's not out, but it's like a record with half of it is with.
I haven't seen it yet.
Half of it is with Dana Stevens, half of it is with Mark Turner, and then the same rhythm section.
Oh man, fantastic!
And it's, but I don't know what it's called, and I don't think it's out yet.
I don't think it's out.
But it's on the same label. It's on whatever High Note, you know.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll search for it when it comes out. So that's super. But cool, man. I will leave you a nice Sunday, and that you can go to the gig. So
All right,
But
thanks.
thanks so much for sharing some of these thoughts, man. I appreciate it. And
Thank you. Good to talk to you, man.
yeah, you
Thank you.
too. And I hope to catch you
All
in
right.
Europe somewhere. So.
Dr. Jazz.